We're continuing to kind of, peck away at Jets Bills week. And this time we have a representative from the Buffalo Bills to speak their side of the story. We'll dive into it. All your comments welcome. It's a Boy Green Daily, and it starts right now. Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show.
Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever been.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
That I do, Trevor Sycamore. That I do. Hey, everybody, my name is Paul Esden Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show for only 20 minutes. It's a quick cup of coffee, a quick breakfast to get you ready for your day. You can watch live with us every single day, live at 7:30 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Plus, you can also listen to the audio-only version of the episode, which is dropped shortly after we go live and we're off the air. So without further ado, let's bring in our very special guest, the beautiful, the one-of-a-kind, the co-host of Two Bills in a Pod podcast. It is Jordan Gosh Darn McGee. What's up, Jordan? Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Well, Jordan, for those who don't know, we've done a lot of Syracuse sports talk radio together. You used to be my producer on our afternoon program that was for a couple years. It's memories I still hold very close to my heart. A lot of laughs and experiences. I'll never forget that show. Unfortunately, is no longer on the air, but that was a lot of fun. And Jordan, it's always great when we get to reconnect our paths. And obviously, Jets Bills week, no better time to do it.
I know you've been drinking a lot of that off-season Kool-Aid. I hope you haven't drank too much of it. You know, I know how you get excited at the start of the season. This year, more so than ever, but hopefully you laid off the Kool-Aid a little bit.
I absolutely did not. And Jordan, here's the problem. I've already angered Bills. It's Tuesday. Okay. Monday Night Football. We're still, what's the math on that? 6 days away, right?
Yeah.
So I've already angered Bills fans because I said to, you know what? Let's do this. I didn't plan on doing this, but you know what? Let's do this. I'm going to throw the tweet up. I'm assuming you haven't seen it. So let's just hope you haven't. Okay. And this is how Bills fans reacted very angrily toward me. And I was called an idiot on multiple occasions. So I'm going to just, I've been called an idiot a lot in my life. So that's not new. Yeah. I wish it was new. I wish oh, wow, never experienced this before. But I have. So I've sent out a pair of tweets, one more recent, but we'll go to the original one first. And I'll read it to you and I'll also throw it out to you. That I just mentioned a fun fact. That's what I like to do. I like to mention fun facts on the show. And, oh, yeah, here it is. Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm going to throw this up on the screen for everyone who happens to be watching at home. I'll also read it to you guys who are only listening. And here it is. Okay, let's here it is. Here it is on the screen. So I put this out. You can see it on the screen now if you're watching. If Zach Wilson beat the Bills and a broken Mike White almost beat them, what the hell do you think is going to happen when Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football against Buffalo? It's got 645 likes and thousands of responses. A lot from Bills fans going, "You're an idiot. Last year has nothing to do with this year." And, "Hey, we had defensive starters out," and blah, 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 blah. But my mentions were on fire. Jordan, you read that tweet. What do you say? What do you say to that?
I think it's a little bit hyperbolic. I mean, listen, this season for the Bills, last year, it was supposed to be the year. Everyone was saying it so. There was kind of the offseason darling. That Bills team faced a lot of adversity that I don't think enough people gave credit for. I mean, with the injuries alone, 2 blizzards, the DeMar Hamlin situation. There was just a lot that was thrown at this team, and especially at the end where they just lost that edge mentality-wise. This season is going to be much more difficult. I mean, this division has gotten a lot tougher. Aaron Rodgers is in. Dalvin Cook's been brought in. You look at Miami, they brought in Jalen Ramsey, although he's injured and won't play till the end of the season. But Miami's always tough. And New England, while their offense may be, questionable, their defense is always strong. So this is going to be a lot tougher for the Bills to repeat. It is much more competitive. And it's going to be a little bit of a tougher season for Buffalo. When I see that, I say, listen, Aaron Rodgers is certainly going to be, he is without a doubt, at least for now, the best quarterback the Jets have had in a very long time. I think that much you can agree on. The question I have with Aaron Rodgers is, okay, he's about to turn 40. He says he's going to play for a couple seasons. How much is a couple? That offensive line for the Jets does kind of concern me. And, he's not a young man like he once was back in the day. So there are some questions that can the offensive line do enough to keep Aaron Rodgers upright, because it is going to be concerned, especially when you have 3 really good defenses in your division alone that you're going to be facing twice. It is a point of concern if I'm a Jets fan.
Let me ask you this, and this is not a smart ass thing. This is, which could probably, anything I say probably could be perceived in that light, if I'm going to be honest. But no, I'm dead curious, and I've got questions on my sheet over here. And we have a lot of wonderful Bills people. You're kicking it off. We have Sal Capaccio of WGR 550 tomorrow, and a few other Bills people throughout the week. We have Jets and Bills people kind of alternating throughout the week in no particular order. And I have a lot of questions about the Bills. And one of mine is to flip it, the Uno reverse card. Ah, you bastard. Booyah. Can the Bills protect Josh Allen? I look at the offensive line. I see a less talented, same name guy in Connor McGovern, who's nowhere near as handsome as our Connor McGovern. So let's throw that out there. And then number 2, on a more serious note, like Deion Dawkins, respect. I think he's a really solid left tackle. Everywhere else, I've got a lot of questions about the Bills' offensive line, which goes to the other side. We're just talking about all the great defenses in the division, including the Jets, who have an incredible defensive line with both star power and depth. Can the Bills protect Josh Allen? That's my question.
It is a good question. I would say the concern for the Bills is not so much starting as it is depth. I will say that they did bring in some good additions. Their second-round pick, Osiris Torrance from Florida, has been looking very good in camp. I think he could very well start, if not week 1, very soon here early on in the season. Listen, Deion Dawkins, I still trust. He is still your franchise tackle. He is your blindside blocker for Josh Allen. I think the problem is depth. They lost some guys to retirement and injury. So it is thin, which is concerning for a 4 or 5 month season. Hopefully, you don't sustain injuries. The one guy that I would be concerned with is Spencer Brown. He definitely struggled last year. He had a great rookie campaign, but last year it kind of took a step back, and they're going to have to rely on him because they don't have a lot of depth at that position. And you would hope that Josh Allen isn't running around for his life, because I feel like one of the problems for the Bills last season was that they were putting too much on Josh Allen to do. They didn't have a strong running game. Stefon Diggs was kind of the only receiver really able to do anything. Gabe Davis was dropping a lot of passes, so this is a big year for Gabe. To me, I feel like they've done enough in terms of adding skill players, both in the backfield and receiver-wise, that's going to give Allen some options. I think the starting depth is going to be fine. It's just a matter of, can they stay healthy? And that's always just kind of $1 million question when you go into a season.
You brought up an interesting name, Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs. In Minnesota, there was a lot of questions about, man, he could sometimes have these kind of crazy outbursts. Obviously, supremely talented, a miracle in Minneapolis. We'll never forget that Saints-Vikings game walk-off touchdown, one of the craziest plays in NFL history. I was in my upstairs apartment at that point watching that one. And obviously the Vikings hit the eject button. It all worked out for all sides. They ended up getting Justin Jefferson out of the deal. Bills got Stefon Diggs, who's really good. But my question isn't about the talent. The talent's obvious. Jordan McGee, hero of the show, 2 Bills in the pot. on the
Yes.
program. But my question is, we all saw what happened with the Bengals playoff game, an abject disaster, but I will give the tip of the cap to everything you just said. I think there's a lot of stuff that happened beyond the field for the Bills that I don't know if any team could have overcame. But specifically, one of the remnants that could carry over is I'm going to go out on a limb here, Jordan. I'm going to assume Monday Night Football and their cajillion cameras are going to have one guy. Let's call him Johnny. Johnny, your job. Yeah. What is it? ESPN overlord boss? I want you as cameraman to be on one man. One man. What about the rest of the game? Johnny, yes. Okay. What is it? I want you to have your camera on Stefon Diggs. But what if he's on the sideline? Exactly. Yes. 100%. 24/7, the entire game, have a camera on him, because at any time he could explode. Anytime things maybe are not going according to plan, he could just kind of go crazy, like he did in that Bengals game. And then he reported and then didn't report and then reported again. And then Sean McDermott said, very concerned. And then he said, what? Media blows things up. There's no concern. Then why did you say you were very concerned? So long story short, I don't even know if there was a question in there, Jordan, but I just had to say there's all that I'm just kind of just dumping on your plate. What is going on with the Stefon Diggs thing that the Bills say, hey, it's a bunch of media, blown up garbage. There's nothing here. It feels like there's something there.
I think it's just Stefon Diggs is an emotional player. I mean, this is always how he's been. He has this ultra competitive edge. He is one of the best competitors in the league. He has a very high demand of what he wants for a team. And the way that game ended last season, yeah, I felt Stefon Diggs in that frustration in the Bengals game. Some of it was just miscommunication with staff and agents. And listen, things have been worked out. Day one of training camp, he reiterated he wants to retire a Buffalo Bill, that everything was squashed. There was a rumor from Stephen A. Smith that he wanted to trade, and Diggs immediately went on Twitter to say, that's BS. Listen, I think Stefon Diggs is an emotional player. And I think there was a great interview that Isaiah McKenzie, a former Bills receiver now with the Colts, mentioned about Diggs, is that 90% of the time, Diggs, what he says, you believe. 10%, sometimes you have to kind of walk him off the edge. He just wears his heart on his sleeve. He's an emotional guy. He has high standards. And I think it's just a matter of, he's the ultimate competitor. And there was a lot of things that built up last season, but they've squashed it behind closed doors like adults. I'm not concerned about Stefon Diggs going into this season. They've worked it out. I think that it's just a matter of, hey, they want to win a Super Bowl. This team, and Stefon Diggs specifically, believes the Bills can win a Super Bowl, and they need to be held to that standard. And he's trying to get the entire team to be up to the standard where Stefon Diggs is, which is a very high standard.
Well, that's beautiful. I'm glad they worked it out. That I almost teared up in the middle of your inspirational message there. That was nice. Let's get to the defensive side of the ball. I saw we had a fan mention this. I want to kind of riff off of kind of this question a little bit. There it is, Blake C. on our YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you guys want to get involved in the comment section, feel free to do so on the Facebook, the YouTube, the Twitter, X, or whatever the hell we're calling it these days. Feel free to get involved from that standpoint. And Jordan Blake asks, are you concerned with the Bills defense taking a step back after losing a couple starters? Do you see them as good as last year, better or worse? And you can feel free to answer that, Jordan, but I want to add to it that one of my concerns, again, I have this handy dandy notebook. I'm on Blue's Clues over here, and there's a few things I need to investigate. And one of those is Tremaine Edmonds, who I love Tremaine Edmonds since he was drafted. I thought, wow, what a steal the Bills got. This guy's a freaking alien, the size, the youth, everything checks off all the boxes. You guys lose him this offseason on a crazy deal to the Bears. God bless the Bears. But from the outside in, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't seem like the Bills replaced him with anyone of significant note. So who the hell is the middle linebacker that seems like a pretty important cog on the defense that other teams, other offenses could choose to exploit if we just start on that level before getting into Blake's question?
Yeah, I mean, so starting at the linebacker position, it's definitely a point of concern, right? The Bills were not going to match the money that Tremaine Edmonds was going to get. Chicago just had deep pockets. The Bills didn't. But I will say that it's not as concerning. I think the linebacker
dish pizza pockets is what you're saying.
Yeah, Chicago's got some money, and they threw out a lot of money to Tremaine. So the linebacker position, it is a little bit concerning. So you've got, I would say, three guys who are going to compete for that spot. You've got Terrell Bernard, who is their third-round pick a year ago from Baylor, Dorian Williams, who was their third-round pick this year from Tulane. But the guy who I ultimately think will start is someone they just picked up on the practice squad, and that's Christian Kirksey. Now, last season, he was with the Texans, get over 100 tackles. The Bills were able to sign with the practice squad. I think he's going to quickly work his way up and be that starting linebacker. Is it a long-term answer? I'm not sure, but for the short term, for a guy who produced over 100 tackles last season, I think you'll take that on a flyer, especially considering right before the start of the season. And then I look at the defense. There's a lot of underrated additions that the Bills had. Leonard Floyd being one, for example, I think is a tremendous addition. Again, he had over 10 plus sacks last season for the Rams. Him and Von Miller were a part of that pass rushing duo that helped the Rams win a Super Bowl. So I think Leonard Floyd, especially with Von Miller being out for the first 4 games, is going to be incredibly important. I think Greg Rousseau has been trending in the right direction. He had a nice season last year, about 8.5 sacks. I think that's going to progress even more. AJ Epinesa also too as well. And then you've got Ed Oliver right there. He got a contract extension, so he's staying put. I think this could be a big year for him as well. And then you look at the secondary. One, they got Jordan Poyer back. That was a huge addition. They keep Poyer and Hyde, which is one of the strongest safety tandems in the league. Tre'Davious White is always a solid corner. They've been going back and forth the second corner position, but it looks like Christian Benford, their 6th-round pick from Villanova, is going to be the starter. He has superseded expectations since last season. He just was a training camp monster last year. He beat out Kyer Elam and Dane Jackson once again. I believe Benford will be the starter at the second corner position. So there are some areas, that linebacker position I mentioned, but overall, I think there's a lot of strength on this team. Pass rushing is one of them. I think their secondary is pretty strong. They also signed Taylor Rapp, the safety from the Rams, so they can play him in a high nickel safety too as well, if need be. I think it's going to be, listen, also too, you've got Sean McDermott taking over play calling for the defense this year. Leslie Frazier taking the year off. And Sean McDermott, the reason he got to Buffalo is because he was that defensive coordinator for the Panthers when they went to the Super Bowl. So I think the linebacker issue is going to be the biggest concern, but I think that they're going to be shored up with Christian Kirksey. And overall, I think this defense is going to be solid, and especially that pass rush, if that can come and materialize with when Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Greg Rousseau, they're going to have quite a pass rushing tandem.
You know, random side note, you mentioned that Bedford has basically beat out Kyer Elam, a first-round pick. The Bills drafting over the last couple of years, a little questionable. Now, the good news is that you've hit on what it matters most, Josh Allen. And when you have a good quarterback or a great quarterback, he's, again, one of the best in the NFL, it can mask a lot of the other things. But when you kind of take a step back for a second, you go, whoa. Some of the Bills drafting has been a little so-so.
I would say this. I would say for overall, I think the biggest, if you want to knock Brandon Began, it's his drafting when it comes to offensive linemen. Cody Ford did not work out. Spencer Brown is still kind of, we'll see what the story is with him. Kyer Elam, it is concerning, right? That your first round pick, he's kind of regressed back. Now, I don't think the Bills are going to trade him. I think there's a lot been talk about that. I don't think they trade him this season. 1, for depth, but 2, this regime always looks at year 3 as the mark of an evaluator for Kyer Elam. So I don't think they're going to be quick to give up on him. Yes, he struggled this preseason, but I still think that there is still value. It's still way too early on. Let's see what he does in year 2. But it is a concerning point. I think there has to be a lot of progression. And listen, opportunities may come. Injuries may happen. Kyer Elam could step up. There's certainly a lot of opportunity for him to rewrite the story. But, you know, he is a man-to-man kind of corner, and he's a very handsy corner, which can be a bad thing in the league when you're talking about pass interference and great on man-on-man coverage, zone coverage. He, still working on it.
Yeah, sure. I'm still working on lots of things in my life, so that's good. We can, we could get there. So again, you channeling your inner Sean McDermott, very concerned, very nice. I like that a lot. So I want to make sure that I ask every Bills representative, as I'm kind of throwing you guys all in a bucket, all you guys and gals this week asking this. And I just want your straight answer. Whatever you believe, and maybe we'll get different answers. Maybe all of you Bills Mafia crazy bastards will be all aligned appropriately. I like Leonard Floyd a lot. I think he's got a high floor and just a consistent player in terms of pass rush. So that should certainly help. but do you believe that the Bills can consistently rush the passer while Von Miller's gone? And he's gone minimum the first 4 games, and we'll see kind of kick the can down the road beyond that. But as currently constructed with the pieces they have, do you believe on a week-to-week basis the Buffalo Bills can consistently rush the passer with the pieces they have not named Von Miller?
I believe they do. I believe so. I think, like I mentioned, Greg Rousseau, and you also mentioned AJ Epinesa. Again, he was a second-round pick from 2020. He's been progressing a lot in a good direction. He hasn't been quite a starter, but he's, again, that rotational piece, which a lot of teams do with their pass rushers. They build up that depth and kind of swap guys in for freshness. Listen, I think that front 4 is going to be really good. Again, Ed Oliver, I think, is going to command a lot of attention. I think that with the pass rush, in years past, yes, it's been a problem for the Bills. I mean, I will point to 13 seconds as an issue for the Bills. I think that their pass rush is going to be fine for the first few games. Von Miller, listen, there's no doubt when he's on the field, he's a difference maker. We saw at the beginning of last season, Von Miller was playing basically worth that contract. But I believe in Leonard Floyd. I believe in Greg Rousseau. I believe in AJ Epinesa. If Ed Oliver can command attention, and who knows, maybe they can package Christian Kirksey and Matt Milano for a couple blitzes too as well, if they really want to get after it, because Matt Milano, again, all-team pro last year. So they have options in terms of they want to dial up the rush. So it will be, they will miss Von Miller, absolutely, no doubt. But I think they have enough pieces around them to create some matchup opportunities to really get after the quarterback and really cause some problems in the backfield.
And go figure, Jordan. The headline of this video is bold Jets Bills predictions, but me and you just get talking, and all of a sudden, who? What? 20 minutes just passed? So, anywho, we'll do this in rapid fire session. I know we pre-gamed about this, telling you what will happen, so we'll just do it in a different version now to get it all in. I wanted us to reveal whether Jets or Bills side, whether you're saying the Bill or you saying the opposite side, you have some bold predictions for this Jets game or vice versa with the Bills. Just lay them out. What are your bold predictions that you would like to unveil here live on Boy Green Daily?
I have one. Okay. Neither Dalvin Cook nor Breece Hall will eclipse 100 yards in this game. I think Breece Hall is, he's got some injury concerns, so he's going to be on a sort of a pitch count per se. And I think Dalvin Cook, listen, he has the ability to. However, I think there is still more of an adjustment period that needs to happen with New York. He just signed a couple weeks ago. So, and also Aaron Rodgers is picky about what he likes with his offense. If he doesn't like a player, he's not going to give him the ball. I'm sure him and Dalvin Cook are getting along, but if he is thrown to Garrett Wilson and Al Lazard, he's going to do that all game long if he likes what he likes. So I will say Cook and Hall will not eclipse 100 yards in this game.
Wow, that is bold. So, Jordan, I love that you lived up to it. It's not like, hey, I think the fifth corner is going to play. Yeah, thanks, Jordan. No, so you really went out there, and it's interesting. Robert Saleh said yesterday they will not use a quote-unquote pitch count for these guys, but obviously they're going to be smart with them. And you're right. Dalvin Cook signed basically 2 weeks ago, just started practicing like a week ago. And Breece Hall, despite the fact that Jets won't, quote-unquote, be putting him on a pitch count, I imagine 10 to 12 touches probably is what's going to happen. And they're going to probably be very judicious with sticking to whatever that made-up number is in their head as they're going through the game, saying, okay, this is enough. Or they use them in a closer sense or what have you. So sexy. I love it. Yeah, that's bold. And I will continue to reiterate my bold prediction, and Bills fans will continue to throw rocks at my house and point to other things. But I don't say this in a disrespectful way, but I feel like anytime you say, with all due respect, anything you say after is in the clear, obviously, or clear massive disrespect. I think the Jets are going to blow the barn doors off the Bills. That's what I believe. I believe they're going to blow them out. And the reason why I believe is I think the Jets are going to get off to a quick lead. And then with the raucous atmosphere that's going to be the home opener, Aaron Rodgers' first game ever in a Jets uniform, Monday Night Football, all of that. Once we get kind of the juices flowing, so to speak, I don't think the Bills are going to be able to overcome that to win. And my prediction officially on our mailbag, I had to do that earlier. That's going to be published at some point, is Jets win 31-12. That is my prediction.
You're drinking way too much Kool-Aid.
So I want to say two things to that, and I'd love your reaction to it, and then we'll wrap up there. So number one, this is not to say I think the Bills are going to be 1-16 or something. Like, I think they're a great team and they're going to have a great season. I just feel like any team can get got on any day, and I believe it's going to be the Jets' day on September 11th. And number two, a lot of Bills fans have brought up to me that Paul, I'm going to butcher the stat probably because a lot of Bills fans threw it out. somewhere to basically they did not get blown out last year. They lost like 3 or 4 games by 8 points or whatever the combination is.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't play Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So up yours with your stat. But anywho, Jordan, what is your reaction to that? Again, 31-12 is my official prediction, and the Jets will blow out the Bills. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. If anything, we're going to see a shootout from both sides, I think, potentially. I do not see the Bills getting blown out. Again, like you said, the Bills just haven't been blown out. I mean, I will say this. They played Aaron Rodgers last season, and they beat Aaron Rodgers. So I'm just saying that I think it's going to be more of a closer game. I think a blowout would be very surprising.
Lay it out there. What's your prediction? Come on, Jordan.
I'm going to go Bills win 31, Jets 28.
Okay, so close game to your credit, and a field goal late for either side. Interesting. All right, well, I guess we'll see what happens. I know a lot of Bills fans hit the on their phone. I believe if you hit the lock and the home screen button, it does it takes a screenshot from what the kids are saying these days, and I believe that they have tagged a lot of freezing cold takes. So if the Jets, in fact, do not blow out the Bills, and worse, because I'm sure a lot of Bills fans aren't going to be like, ha ha, Paul, the Jets only beat us by 2. I'm sure if they lose, I probably won't be hearing anything. However, if the Bills blow out the Jets, I may be getting a lot of sucker. I could be getting a lot of that the next
You
day.
will.
I just that's very probable. But nonetheless, Jordan, before we get you out of here, I do. This is the longest Boy Green Daily ever, which I apologize to our fans for lying about 20 minutes. Snack size getting out of here, but I will say you guys have you guys and gals have an amazing podcast. You and Daniel Hahn, 2 Bills in a pod, where people can get the other side. One of my favorite things to do on a week-to-week basis, I know not all Jets people do this, is I love listening to the other side. I heard Sal Capaccio's podcast yesterday. It's always game day in Buffalo. I love hearing how they think about the Jets, the problems they think they have, and I'm just absorbing. Interesting notes. So I hope a lot of Jet fans get to check out 2 Bills in a pod in the build-up, obviously, to this game. So any quick plugs where people can find that?
Yeah, we're on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, 2 Bills in a Pod. We're also on Facebook and Twitter at the same handles. Every game day, we do live GIFing on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it now. We are doing episodes every Monday. So every Monday night, you can expect a new episode for at least the first month. And yeah, just if you'd like to, again, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, all the handles at 2 Bills in a Pod on social.
All right, can't wait. Tomorrow we'll have Sal Capaccio of WGR 550 on live tomorrow morning at 7:30. Hope you guys can check it out, and hope you guys can support the show wherever you're watching. Thanks, Jordan, for checking in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
I would say good luck, but I don't mean it. I hope you guys burn in a absolute terrible fire, and the Bills Mafia has no tables to jump through because they're all burned down from what will happen after the Jets take care. Okay, excellent. I'm glad we feel the same way. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in for a Boy Green Daily. We'll see you at the latest tomorrow morning, 7:30. Take care, everybody. God bless.